Today we're going to talk about the Spice Girls, about their solo careers, what happened after they disbanded as a group. Everybody knows the Spice Girls. Everybody who grew up in the 90s know the Spice Girls. The group were formed by Hard Management. They held an audition and decided to put 5 members in the group: Victoria, Melanie C, Melanie B, Emma and Geri. They moved into a house and started to work with each other, to know each other, to jail with each other, to learn how to harmonize, how to dance, how to perform with each other. And the thing about the Spice Girls, they were really vocal about their careers. They had a clear vision about what they want to represent. Most times you have management or label who tell you what you have to do. They were young, and before they even broke into the industry, they made sure that the management understood exactly in which direction they wanted to go. At that time, boy and girl groups were really popular. You had En Vogue, you had En Turner, who had well success in the charts, but the Spice Girls demanded to go in that direction. They wanted to be something new, something fresh, something that you cannot put into a box. So they worked on the music, on their image, and that was really smart because that helped them later. Every Spice Girl had a different element. Mel B was known as Scary Spice, Emma Bunton was known as the Baby Spice, Geri was known as Ginger Spice, Victoria Beckham was known for Posh Spice, and Melanie C was known for Sporty Spice. Their first single, Wannabe, became a smash legendary hit. It charted in over 20 countries at #1, including Australia, UK and the US Billboard charts. They released their first album in November 1996 and it became a smash hit. It sold in America alone over 7.5 million units. For the first album, they released singles like Wannabe, Say You Be There, To Become One, Mama, Who Do You Think You Are. All of the singles became #1 on the UK single charts. All the hard work they put in before started to pay off. After the success of the first album, they started to record the second album. In 1997, they released their second studio album, Spice World. They shot straight to #1 at the UK album charts and #3 at the Billboard 200 charts. The album sold over 4 million units in the US alone and over 1.6 million units in the UK. Singles for this album were Too Much, Spice Up Your Life, Stop and Viva Forever. After the success of the first and second album, promotion, touring, jet lag life, meeting celebrities, presidents, the Queen, building a huge fan base, things started to shift in their business but also in the group. So Geri decided to leave the group after the second album. So the group decided to continue as a quartet. In between time, they started to focus more on their private life, on their solo careers, and they started to build a life beside the Spice Girls. Since the Spice Girl journey started, they wanted to put some things in order because they always had a hectic life and never had time to calm down. After touring the whole world, they gave each other the freedom to express themselves. Also, Victoria and Mel B were pregnant at the same time, so the focus started to go in a different direction. They started to focus more on building their own families, becoming mothers and wives, and making sure they have enough private life for themselves. So during that time, they decided to record a final last album, third album. They wanted this album to sound different, older, wiser, mature. So they decided to leave the teeny pop sound behind them and to focus more on what was going on at that time in the music industry. And it was the era where R&B, hip-hop, soul, urban music started to become a really big thing in mainstream. Also, it was the shift between 90s and 2000s. The early 2000s changed everything, from style to politics to the music industry. Things that were working in the 90s didn't work at the early 2000s anymore. Eurodance was a huge thing in the 90s, and that era started to end during the end of the 90s. At that time, a lot of artists who were really big in the 90s were looking to jump into the new train to stay relevant in the charts. The first Spice Girls album came out in 96. The second album came out in 97. So with the third and final album, they decided to change things. Also, they became older, so the style became more sexy and mature, and they started to work with a lot of US American R&B and and hip-hop producers for the third album. The first single for the album that they released were in 2000s with the title Harlem. The song hit #1 at the UK single charts. They released their third and final album in November 2000. It charted at #2 at the UK charts and sold over 200,000 units in the US and in the UK. They didn't promote this album the way they were promoting their other albums. You can tell that they finalized this album to move on to their solo careers. During their careers, they sold over 105 million records worldwide. That makes them the most successful girl group of all time. So before they finalized their third album, Virgin Records, which signed the Spice Girls, offered all 4 girls solo deals, and all of them signed the deals. After the Spice Girls hiatus, Victoria Beckham started to work on a solo album. The first single came out in 2001 with the title Not Such an Innocent Girl. It peaked #6 on the UK single charts. Before even she released her first single, she was a feature guest on the song Out of Your Mind. It peaked #2 on the UK single charts and was released in 2000. In 2001, she released a self-titled album and it peaked #10 on the UK album charts. The second single for the album was named A Mind of Its Own and was released in 2002. It peaked #6 on the UK single charts. The record label was disappointed in Victoria's numbers. They expected more, so they dropped her. In 2002, it was announced that Victoria signed a second solo deal with Telstar Records. In 2003, she began to record an electro-pop influenced album. After she finalized the album, most of the songs were leaked, so Victoria decided to go back to the studio and to record new songs. This time around, she wanted to go more to R&B and urban, so she linked up with Damon Dash and started to work with him. Victoria recorded a lot of songs with Damon Dash and she liked the urban direction. The first single they wanted to release was This Groove, an urban pop song which was produced by Damon Dash. The label came up with the idea to release 2 singles at the same time, since she already recorded the electro-pop album and now finalized the urban album. They wanted to release 2 singles which goes in 2 different directions to see which appeals more to the fans. The singles were released as a double A side and peaked #3 at the UK single charts. Later the album were cancelled when Telstar went bankrupt before the releases. Apparently the label paid Victoria too much. They gave her an advance of £1.5 million and later they no longer had enough to cover other costs. Mel B started to work on her first solo album during the time the Spice Girls were recording the final third album. She wanted to record an urban R&B album, so she linked up with American producers like Jamie Jam and Terry Lewis, Rodney Jerkins, Missy Elliott, and Teddy Riley. The first single she released for the album was I Want You Back featuring Missy Elliott. It shot straight to #1 on the UK single charts. It was released in 1998. The second single was released in 1999 with the title Word Up. With the second single, she didn't have as much success as with the first single. It peaked #13 on the UK single charts. Her debut album came out in October 2000, 2 years after she released the hit single I Want You Back. It peaked #28 at the UK single charts and charted in Japan at #10. Singles for the albums were Tell Me, Feels Good, Lullaby. The label was disappointed in Mel B's numbers, so they dropped her after the release of the first album. The second album came out in 2005 with the title LA States of Mind. The album didn't have success. It charted on the UK single charts at number 4503. I didn't even know that this number existed in the charts. Geri Halliwell left the Spice Girls in 1998. Short after that, she started to work on her solo stuff. Geri was the drive behind the Spice Girls. She was opinionated, she has a vision, and she wanted them to succeed. She didn't have the best voice or was the best dancer in the group, but she has this fearless energy that the group needed. Mel B and Geri complemented each other. They had the same type of energy. That's the reason why they were sometimes so close, and then other days they had the biggest arguments in the group. For her first debut album, she signed with EMA Records. She was the only one who signed with a different label beside the other girls. In 1999, she released her first single, Look at Me. It peaked #2 on the UK single charts and charted in a lot of different Europe countries. The first album came out in June 1999 and peaked #4 of the UK single charts. She sold over 2 million records worldwide with the first album and went double platinum in UK, platinum in Canada, and gold in 4 more countries, including America. She's the only member of the Spice Girls who had a gold album in America. Other singles she released for her album Schizophrenic were Mi Chico Latino, Lift Me Up, Back It Up. Almost all of her solo singles went straight to #1. Just the first song that she released charted at #2. The second album came out in 2001, Scream If You Wanna Go Faster. It peaked #5 of the UK album charts. It charted in different Europe countries and went later gold in UK and in France. She didn't have the same success with this album as with her first album, but the numbers for the album were okay and she had a huge hit single with this album. It Raining Man went straight to #1 on the UK single charts and in 6 more Europe countries. It's the biggest single till this day. More singles for the album were Scream If You Wanna Go Faster and Calling. The third album, Passion, came out in 2005 with a new label and 4 years later than the previous album. The album peaked #41 on the UK album chart and didn't have the same success as the previous albums that she released. Singles for that album were Ride It and Desire. In 1999, Emma Bunton was a feature guest on the song What I Am from 10 Out. The song peaked #2 on the UK single chart and charted in different Europe countries. What Took You So Long became her first solo single and went straight to #1. The song charted in different Europe countries and till this day it is one of my favorite childhood songs. That's the best song that she released in her career and also the most successful song. Her solo debut album came out in 2001 with the name A Girl Like Me. It peaked #4 on the UK album charts. The album produced singles like Take My Breath Away, We Are Not Gonna Sleep Tonight, Free Me, Maybe, I'll Be There, Crickets, Sing for Anna Maria. All the singles that she released for her first album were top 20 hits in the UK. Later on, the album went gold in the UK and in Australia. It sold more than 500,000 units worldwide. But the label was not happy about the numbers, so they kicked her out like the other members. Over the years, she released more albums. In 2004, she released the album Free Me, which charted in the UK at #7. It produced hit singles like Downtown and All I Need to Know. In 2006, she signed a deal with Universal and released the album Live in Mono. It peaked #65 in UK and #69 in Scotland. In 2019, she released the album Through BMG with the title My Happy Place. It peaked #11 on the UK charts. It charted in some Europe countries, plus in the US Heat Seekers charts. Mel C was always considered as the strongest vocalist of the Spice Girls. She was the backbone of the group when it came to vocals. She released the first solo song as a feature of Bryan Adams for the song When You Are Gone. The song peaked #3 on the UK single charts and charted in many Europe countries. Later, the single was certified gold in Denmark and Norway and platinum in the United Kingdom and Australia. Her first single came out in 1999 with the title Going Down. It charted in the UK at #4. The second single came out in the same year and charted also at #4 with the title Northern Star. But it was the third single that made her become an outstanding solo star. The label believed in her and they wanted to push her solo career more, so they wanted to connect with a strong international artist who can be a feature guest in one of her songs, so they decided to work with Lisa Left Eye Lopez from the successful girl groups TLC. Never Been the Same Again became one of Mel C's strongest singles that she released ever. The song peaked #1 at the UK single charts, also in Netherlands and Switzerland. It became a top 10 hit in over 20 countries. The fourth single for the album was I Turn to You. It became a huge success in Europe and went straight to #1 in UK. In 1999, she released her first solo debut album, Northern Star. It charted at #4 on the UK charts and became a huge success in Europe. It certified 3-time platinums in the UK, platinum in Germany, and in some other countries. The last single for the album was If It Were Me. It charted on the UK single charts at #18. After the success of the first album, Virgin Records decided to continue the work with Melanie C. She was the only member who continued with the label after the first album. The other 3 members who signed with the same label were kicked out after the first solo album. Melanie's second album, Reason came out in 2003 and charted in the UK charts at number 5. It went later gold and produced singles like Here It Comes Again, On the Horizon, Melt, and Yeah Yeah Yeah. After the second album, the label decided to kick Melanie out. She wanted to leave the label too because they had creative differences. After that, she created her own record label, Red Girl. During the years, she released more albums. In 2005, she released the album Beautiful Intentions. The album went gold in Germany and Switzerland and went platinum in Portugal. The album had one of Melanie's biggest hit singles, First Day of My Life. In 2007, she released the album This Time. In 2011, she released the album The Sea. In 2012, she released the album Stages. In 2016, she released the album Vision of Me. And in 2020, she released the album Melanie C. During her career, she sold more than 30 million records worldwide. She is not just the strongest vocalist of the Spice Girls, she is also the most successful solo artist in the group. But I also think all of them did pretty good after the Spice Girls. I think the reason why some of them had not the careers that they deserve as solo artists is because they had the wrong label, they had the wrong team. Because I think if Victoria continued with Damon Dash in the direction she was going, she could become something like Cheryl Cole. She could have her own lane, but I think music was not really her passion. She became very successful as a designer and with a brand. Even Melanie B, I think, if she would have worked more with Missy and the sound that Missy was giving her, she could be much bigger as a solo artist than she was. She worked with heavy producers, but I think not all of them understood her sound like Missy did. That's the reason why the album sounded all over the place. But all in all, the Spice Girls are a legendary group. All of them deserve to be where they are, and they changed music history. That's fact. I hope you liked the video. Leave me a comment, leave me a thumb up, subscribe to not miss any other videos. We see each other next time. Bye.